Looking for a bank you can trust? Look no further than Home Trust Bank, the premier banking service provider of our region and dedicated sponsor of Talking Ship.
Jeff, did you know that for nearly 100 years, Home Trust Bank has been building relationships with customers based on integrity and trust? Whether you need an account, investment help, or a home or business loan, they've got you covered.
I did. I actually refinanced my house with Home Trust. Headquartered in Asheville, Home Trust employs people who live in our neighborhoods and care deeply about our community.
Choose Home Trust Bank for all your financial needs, because when it comes to banking, trust matters. Visit them today at hdb.com.
Let's talk some ship!
Woo!
Yeah.
So, Jay, I want to say to you, have you ever met somebody and known right away that you were destined to be best friends?
Yeah, I guess I could say that. Yeah.
So I feel that way, but I'm sure Katie Button does not. But we'll find out in today's podcast. Greetings, shipheads, and welcome to Talking Ship, the Venture Asheville podcast, where we talk about issues and topics in entrepreneurship. If you're looking for a sister podcast on the intricacies of dredging sediment on nearby Lake Norman, that's our sister podcast, Oops, I'm in Deep Ship. And who are we? We are the Venture Asheville team. Venture Asheville is the high-growth entrepreneurship initiative of the Economic Development Coalition for Asheville-Buncombe County. We build entrepreneurs and get startups funded. I'm Jeffrey Kaplan, the ship's captain, director of Venture Asheville. My wife recently asked me why I insist on being called the ship's captain when skipper is a more than appropriate naming convention. So perhaps skipper will catch on as a nickname more than ship captain or startup daddy, which still hasn't found its legs. With me, as always, is the wonderful, smart, talented, considerate, and creative Juliana Moon Walker. I said it wrong. Juliana Moon Walker. We haven't known each other long enough. Our master of interactive media, Moon Walker, calling in from the new crib. What's good?
Yes, I am just so exhausted. I've been moving all week, it feels like, and still a little has been done, and so much is to be done. Like no pictures have even been hung, and I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by it all, but I know it will come together soon. But moving sucks.
Okay, I've been sitting on not literally, I have a succulent aside I've been waiting to give you for your housewarming gift. I'm just waiting for my invite to the housewarming party.
Yeah, no, I saw something online where you hold a housewarming party and you get everybody to bring over just like a cheap piece of framed art from like Goodwill or something.
I like that.
And you make a gallery wall with it. And so we've got like this whole staircase that, if it's ugly art, we don't have to look at it. So just put it up there. And that's a good way to get people to come over.
Well, good luck with moving. Moving is one of the top 3 most stressful experiences people go through. It's like death, divorce, and moving. So
yeah, it's terrible.
Hang in there, champ.
Thanks.
Today we get to speak to possibly the most Ash famous person in the city. No, it's not Mayor Esther Mannheimer, not yet. It's Chef Katie Button. Katie B, as her friends call her, and by her friends I mean me, and by me I mean I hope we can be friends. Katie Button really put Asheville on the map as a food city. Yes, we've always had a history of good chefs and thoughtful cuisine, but around, I want to say 12 years ago, I know it's more than 10, it's 12, right? Yeah, 12 years ago, Chef Katie Button, the prodigy from Chef Jose Andres' kitchen, opened Cúrate here in Asheville. Since that time, Katie has won a James Beard Award for outstanding hospitality. She's published 1 cookbook. I heard one's in the works. Hosted TV shows on the Magnolia Network, and believe it or not, is now running one of the most exciting and fast-growing e-commerce startups in town. My goodness, we have so much to talk about. Katie B, welcome. Let's talk some ship.
I'm so glad to be here. Hello.
First question. Let's say I'm at Cúrate. That's not how you say it. You don't say Cúrate. You say Cúrate. That's how you say it.
It's Cúrate, but you did
Cúrate.
great.
No, Cúrate.
That was great.
Okay.
Excellent.
Whew. High school Spanish paid off, and also having a Cuban father helps. Let's say I'm at Cúrate, and I bribe my way into a seat at the bar on a Friday night, or I'm at a table. What am I ordering? What's first up?
Well, first, I want to give you the tip so you don't have to bribe your way in.
I'm out of cash. It's been really tough for me.
Reservations go live 60 days in advance, but also like we're open for lunch on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And a lot of people don't realize we don't close between lunch and dinner. There's like off-peak hours. There's all kinds of off-peak hours moments. But you're right. If you want 7 p.m., you're going to plan ahead.
Yeah, the hosts have cleaned out my cache. All right, so let's say it's like a working late, 3 martini lunch kind of deal. And I'm
That's
at
perfect.
Cúrate. What am I having?
My favorite, well, right now it's spring, so I'll just say some of my absolute favorites. We have an ajo blanco. It's a chilled almond and garlic soup with crab and green grapes. It sounds really interesting. It is amazing. And the rosejat, which has been on our menu since the beginning. It is kind of like a paella, but made with noodles, like pasta, short pasta that stands up. And it's made with squid and squid ink and this like incredible house-made seafood stock that's super rich in flavor. It's one of my favorite things ever. My kids are telling you to order the croquetas every single time. Don't skip them. I think right now we're on jamon, where they alternate what the flavor is. The jamon ones are extra good. And also our version of kind of a take on calçots, which is we take ramps. It's ramp season right now. And
nice. Yeah.
So in Spain, they take these spring onions. Well, they actually kind of come up a little earlier because of the season, but they're called calçots, and then grill them and dip them in romesco sauce. So we serve local, sustainably harvested ramps that way, and they're amazing. So that's what I'd tell you to order.
Nice. That sounds good. I used to, pre-pandemic, I was going frequently to the restaurant with my grandfather, who was from Cuba, who lived in Charlotte after that, and after the 60s. And one of his best friends, this guy, Raphael Kravik. Raphael's a house in Haw Creek, and they would take me and my wife and their wives out to lunch at Cúrate. And my aunt would come up and like the bacalao, they would order multiple dishes of it, right? The cod dish. And that was my grandfather's favorite thing. They loved the croquetas, but the bacalao, it's nice that we have these family memories around food and these experiences, and it's probably one of the nicest parts of having a beloved restaurant like this is being there for people in these special moments that become part of their life story.
That's absolutely correct. It is really an honor to be a part of that.
So let's start with that topic. Your James Beard Award, which I imagine before coming into Venture Asheville and Elevate was your greatest achievement. I don't know if we supersede that. I'm gonna say, yeah, we do.
Yes.
Your James Beard Award is in hospitality specifically. And I think you understand the significance of those moments we have around food, around tables. So can you talk to us about the customer experience? How do you craft it? How do you design it? What's informed your decisions? Like, how thoughtful do you get into every part of the meal?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for us, hospitality is about the entire experience. And it's not just guest facing, it's also employee facing. Because I do think that entire every single person who works in our businesses has a very important role to play in doing their job well. And then all of those pieces coming together from the, first person that you meet when you walk in the door, the host, to the person polishing glasses, in the back room, all of those pieces have to fit together in order to create the experience when you come in and dine at either of our restaurants. And, I think it's our philosophy that it's not just consumer facing, that it's also the employee experience within that, which we tackle via training. There's a lot of focus on training and culture and opportunities for growth and making clear paths for people to be able to get more education and move up in their position, which is both better for us and better for them. And and better for the customer in the end, because the more educated that our team is, the better the experience that they're developing. And so it's about that. It's about not thinking of hospitality through the lens of a server's direct interaction with a customer. It's how every single person plays into the whole experience that sets it apart.
So you've been in this Cúrate, the flagship, what you're best known for. You have other restaurants. Another restaurant, we'll talk about some ones that you had in the past as well. But being in a restaurant for 12 years in the year 2023 means you made it through that what was that thing called? The
Right.
the pandemic, right?
I never want to think of again.
I know you don't want to think about it, but what was it like taking one of the landmark establishments of our region, as a restaurant through the lockdown and the pandemic, and then opening up and locking down again? And I mean, what was it like from your perspective, other than awful and painful?
I know. I mean, it was crazy and horrible. I think, obviously I think the fastest, like the first thing that comes to mind from the business perspective is it was a crash course in business economics, like just how money flows and what it takes and what happens when instead, like, so just the fact that restaurants economics, it's on a wheel, it's like rolling like a cart going down the road, right? And you're like bringing in sales today to pay labor that happened already, right? Like the previous week, and cost of goods. And because it's a wheel that works, right? The next day you open. So when you throw a stick in the spoke and it all breaks down, it was like by shutting down restaurants and their dining rooms, and only way to interact with our customers. The financial damage that it did instantly was just, I couldn't have even predicted it. I had no idea. And it, we had to think really quickly about, we're not a takeout known restaurant, right? When you take out food, you go to the pizza place or like whatever, like you have your list, your top 5 takeouts, and those are the places you rotate through. And, I think fine dining or casual fine dining restaurants aren't usually on that list. So we had to really quickly think, oh my gosh, how do we connect with our customers, with the people who love us in the community? How do we reach them? How do we bring employees back? I mean, we went from having 140 employees to 0 overnight, only because there was no sales to employ anyone. And that also was a really crazy transition. Instead of helping people, I was spending my time helping people sign up for unemployment, like trying to, part of it is like that transition too, is like figuring this out for what this means for them and how we can support them during this time. And fortunately, yes, it is 2023. And we're beginning to feel like
we're out of it.
Like we're like hesitantly excited, I don't know that any of us
are optimistic, at least.
Right. We are very optimistic. So, and feeling also proud of how we made it through the pandemic with some of the decisions that we made. The opening of La Bodega by Cúrate, which is one of our absolute, I think, just like gems that has come out of that time, and looking now towards the future. Right.
So I want to talk about the impetus of La Bodega. So during this time, I remember early in the pandemic, I know the exact date. It was right at my wife's birthday in May of 2020. So yeah, her birthday's coming up. I don't know what I'm getting her yet. We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll take her to Bodega. You guys started doing like meal kits. Like you could get certain goods and prepared dishes that you finished at home, picking it up off of Lexington, right? Off La Bodega by the front door. And it was such a weird time, right? In May, there was first year in the pandemic, 3-4 months in May, there's so many unknowns of how close to be with people. Can I be outside with people? Can I gather in groups of 8 or 10? Like all that stuff, what was happening. And so it was my wife's birthday. And so I ordered meal kits, and I went to pick it up after work one day. And I'm pretty sure Felix, her husband, was the one to come out with my meal kit. And someone comes out, like kind of yells your name, you yell it back. And I'm thinking this is going to be like the drive-through and takeout, and I drive this pickup truck. And so I'm thinking, like, where's this stuff going to go? Is it going to be like, is he bringing like a box? Is it like a strapped in the back at the ratchets? Like, what are we going to do with this thing? Comes out, opens my door, like lays out the stuff on the seat, of course, respectfully distanced with masks. And, but the kindness and generosity and the soulfulness to see the experience I was getting from Felix was as a whole person, not as a transaction, as clearly somebody who is here to do something nice for somebody else. Didn't know who it was, but you're not spending that kind of money on a meal kit, right? Just for giggles, right? People are going there for those special moments. And my experience was the privilege of service to provide that moment for people. It was so real and so tangible for me, and I've never not had that at any of my experience across any of your restaurants. But that one moment from May 2020 stands out to me. Is right up there with like eating cod with my grandfather, like right up there with like super impactful moments of that difficult time in our lives. So I want to thank you personally for that. And we had the quail. It was delicious. I finished it in my broiler, and it was phenomenal.
It's beautiful. I love
Let's
that
go
story.
back to 2011. What did Biltmore Ave, what did downtown Asheville look like when you opened up Cúrate, the first restaurant?
I know, it was so different.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few of the restaurants that you see in downtown now. A fraction
Maybe
of the
Zambra's, Tupelo
yes.
Honey was there. Kind of well-known
Kachina
restaurant.
had just opened. Table had just opened. Like
Okay.
I think
Okay,
Kachina
yeah,
opened in 2008. I think Table opened in 2009, or vice versa. Anyway, like right around that time, it was like things. Marketplace, obviously, which has been here forever. You know, was one of the other places, but you know, limones and salsas, like you know, the things that you think of as like the original Asheville restaurants were here. But you're right, like there were not as many shops, not nearly as many restaurants or things to do. I don't know. It was a very different scene in downtown, but beautiful too. And we picked Asheville because, you know, as a place to move, because we realized if we're going to open our own business, you get the opportunity to do it anywhere. You know, like really, if you think about it, like you can move and then open your own business. And it was partly where do we want to live? You know, like where do we see life? And I think, you know, Asheville, even when we opened then in 2011, was, you know, it's always been a creative community. And I think that creative community leads directly into entrepreneurship, right? I mean, people move here and then because they love it, and then they figure out how they're going to like create their life, and oftentimes it leads them into an entrepreneurial journey. And so
100%.
It's like, it's cool actually how that happens. You know, I think if we were, it's what we have that sets us apart from a major city where you go and you work for some other established company that's already been there. Like you're here and you're trying to like create these new things for yourself. And it's really, really wonderful. And the outdoors and the just like this like historic downtown, you know, and walkable neighborhoods. And
did you move here directly from Spain? Is that what you guys did?
I did. Yeah. I was like in Spain. Felix was in LA. We had like swapped locations and we're like working together and working in separate areas. And then I went to LA and we moved from LA directly to Asheville. Gotcha. Felix actually moved to Asheville sight unseen to open the restaurant. So
that's why he's a keeper, huh? That's awesome.
I know, totally.
Yeah, good
that's
for him.
Right. Yes.
He lucked out. He found himself in a great town.
Yes, he did. And I mean, it is really a wonderful place. We are so thrilled, and it has changed a lot, but I still think even with the changes, the spirit of what makes Asheville is still the same. You know, the creativeness, the opportunities for small businesses, and for you to kind of like create your dream.
Yeah, I think that adds to the special character, the unique character of our entrepreneurial ecosystem, which has its own very distinct culture from our friends in the Triangle or Charlotte or Wilmington or you name it. You know, when you opened this restaurant, were you just like what was your plan? Like, because I moved here in 2016, but been visiting for a few years, and it was already known that Cúrate is the place to be, right? And was your intention when you opened it like to be the market leader and become a world-class restaurant, or was it like we're gonna open a little Spanish cafe and see what happens? What was that journey like? I'm curious, what were your goals like when you started?
I mean, I don't even know that we like vocalized them, right? We were just like keep pure passion, like, you know, just like all, you know, let's like jump in and do this thing. No, I mean, we really just wanted to open a tapas bar, a tapas restaurant, you know, and we were, you know, I think when we came to Asheville, we didn't even know exactly the concept that we were opening. And then we started walking around, and eating at the restaurants and checking out what was going on and watching, the line going into Bouchon and like other things. And then we were like, I know what we're going to do. We're going to open a Spanish tapas restaurant. And I think because we had this vision of, I don't know, the memories, I think, of my time in Spain. Felix is from Spain.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happened in my journey into food that the only professional food that I had cooked was Spanish food, because my first job was working in a restaurant, was working at one of Jose Andres's restaurants. And so it was like this
That's
thing
a lot of people's first job. Sure.
Right.
Yeah. That's typical. It's a typical story.
Right.
Yeah.
And, they took a chance on somebody who had no experience. Cool. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
And, but, so we knew then that feeling and vibe of shared plates, like in a really vibrant atmosphere with an open kitchen, was what we were craving. Like, I think often we think, what are we craving in life? And in our restaurant, and then try to create that. Now, I don't know that's like, that's
you
not
built the restaurant
with,
it sounds like, with the experience in hospitality first.
Yes.
Right? Like that's the culture and values, and the dishes are what the dishes are, but like you came at the gates with experience first. I think it's really,
that is
showing.
Correct. Yeah.
Very cool. I have so many questions. I prepped you for that. I don't want to go down these rabbit holes. I'll focus back on my script here. Your career, right? Talking about your first job with Chef Jose Andres, who has become just an amazing philanthropist and leader in the world. And you have shows on Joanna Gaines' Magnolia Network. Who's a better hugger, Jose or Joanna?
So I have to say, no knock to Joanna. She's a great hugger,
Mm-hmm.
but I do have to say that, a hug from Jose Andres, Spanish style, comes with a kiss on the cheek. Yeah. Also, it comes from the knowledge of the fact that same hug has hugged all of the leaders of the known world. Like,
right.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I've just, through Jose hugged, Joe Biden or, whoever. It's like, it's amazing. So he, that's why I have to say that hug is quite meaningful.
That's all right. I don't think either of them listen to the podcast, so I'm not sure they'll take offense to knowing who's a winner, who's a loser. She's a loser. I'm sure Joanna Gaines is fine. You are known for kicking ass and doing things with extreme precision and excellence while remaining authentic and relatable. So with this reputation of excellence, I have to ask you why you closed two of my favorite restaurants in Asheville. I would love to. So when I moved here, you were known for Cúrate and Night Bell. And then Night Bell closed and you opened up, which I thought was a brilliant turn. Finally, a bagel shop, Button's Bagel Company, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Button and Company Bagels.
That's what I always called it, Button's Bagels, because I thought that was, it was stuck in my head. So I asked this question not to make you relive more like difficult decisions on our podcast, but it's so part of the entrepreneurial journey, and you're known for huge achievements, world-class abilities. So I want to ask you, if I call them failures, I don't want you to take that like as a negative thing, right? But it is part of the journey.
Never.
Can you reflect for a minute on what it was like in that space, the journey of two restaurants, not to like put a batting average on you, but you're at about 500. You've opened two, do really well. You've had to open and close two restaurants, which is still better than any VC. And a lot of entrepreneurs, where 80% of our businesses are going to fail. Tell us about that experience if you can. What can we learn from that? What has it taught you? How have these struggles become strengths for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I do think that they have been important. I mean, nobody once, sets out, you never set out and open something expecting that you're going to close it, or knowing that eventually you're going to be facing that decision to close it. Otherwise you wouldn't start, right? But it's true that part of the journey is knowing when something isn't working and when it's time to move on, close that chapter and move to another one. And I think the rarer situation is that you open a place like Cúrate and then all of a sudden it just like is successful. Like, I think that is rare. And I think the reasons behind that also have to do with it being the first one, and like, things, us just being like really, I think you're lighter in your first one. And I think opening your second and third business is where you really learn how to run a business. Like, I don't know, because you're like, all of a sudden it becomes so important because you need, in order, I guess in the restaurant industry, in order to go from 1 to 2, I mean, when we were running Just Cúrate, Felix and I was the chef de cuisine. Felix was the head manager. I mean, we're like owners, operators, like working day in, day out. You open a second one, all of a sudden you can't be in 2 places at once, right? So you have to hire up and train and develop and also think about a concept that's going to fit with everything. I think what we learned a lot with those experiences is with both Night Bell and also Button and Company Bagels is that it's hard to tell 2 separate stories. Like our niche is, we've created a brand and a niche in Spanish cuisine and culture as our background. And we always wanted, but let's open something totally different so it doesn't compete with the other thing, right? But then you're trying to tell 2 completely different stories about food. And it's hard because they don't tie together. So in conversation, it becomes harder to talk about both of them, and it just like, I think that's what we learned. I mean, Night Bell was just, it wasn't, I think we didn't have enough. I'm
going to interrupt you right there, Katie. Night Bell had, I still consider to be the best and coolest bar in Asheville.
I mean, it was amazing.
It was gorgeous. And
it was great.
And the drinks were phenomenal. But I remember distinctly my experience there. My wife and I were on a date night. The table next to us was an older couple that were so upset with the wait staff that they weren't getting Spanish tapas. That they were expecting. I get what you mean when you say telling 2 stories. I get what you mean.
That's right. And the bagel shop, honestly, it was a casualty of the pandemic. We is really what happened. If that hadn't happened, it might still be around. It just was a moment where, we did a real quick math decision. Bagels have a price, right? Like that people are willing to pay. It's like max with cream cheese is like $4, right? It requires a lot of volume and a lot of people in downtown waiting in line to get a bagel and a coffee to be able to pay the fixed costs of the building and all of the other things that go into that business model. So all of a sudden you wipe out people in downtown, no tourism, like everything goes away and it doesn't make sense anymore. And we're like, gosh, we need to sell people, full meals so that they want to be, they're purchasing dinner, right? Because the check average at dinner time is higher. So that's where the meal kits and we also wanted to connect people back with Cúrate food. It was our strongest brand. And we need to be able to sell bottles of wine and all of this. And it just came together as a smart decision for that space in the pandemic for the business model. And then it just stuck. And also then we were like, oh my gosh, what have we been doing? This is our expertise. We know more than anybody about Spain, Spanish culture, Spanish food. And now we get to open this full retail shop, which is where the bodega started. And then we were like, and now we get to add a cafe with pastries and lunch and coffee. And now we get to add a full restaurant upstairs. And it's been a really fun journey.
Awesome. And it's grown organically.
Yes.
You crawled, you walked, now you're running. Yeah, I think there's some great lessons there. As you may know, I'm aging into my personality, which is as a cranky old Jewish man. And so when you had the bagel shop, I brought 2 cranky old Jewish men I really look up to out, and I was going to treat them to breakfast for a meeting. And these are guys were mentors in our program. And I remember how difficult it was for one of the guys to order his bagel because he was asking the person at the POS putting the order in to scoop out the bagel. And the young guy behind the counter couldn't fathom why you would scoop out a bagel. This is a South Florida thing, man. You got to fit everything in the bagel. He's doing a scooping finger gesture. And I remember they turned around. You may have been there. I think Jay Chong was there at the time. Yes. And I remember seeing people like, what's this guy talking about scooping a bagel? And repeatedly, Katie, your restaurants create these memories and these moments for people that really become part of their personalities in their lives. So people I think clearly know Katie the chef, and if they have, was it HBO Max, they know Katie the TV star. I want to talk about Katie the startup entrepreneur. So building off of the success with La Bodega, understanding the lifestyle brand that you've nurtured and created and refined. People rely on you for expertise and vision in specialty goods and for sure Spanish culture. This is now becoming a pretty significant e-commerce business. Can you tell us about Cúrate at home?
Yes, absolutely.
Or as I say, Cúrate a la casa?
Yes, I love that. I think this business, e-commerce, evolved from us realizing, it started in the pandemic and us realizing, gosh, we don't just need to be able to connect with our customers and fans here in Asheville and people who love what we do here locally, but also why can't we also bring those experiences to people across the country? And, I have exciting news. We actually just won a Good Food Award for our Sobrasada. Yes, we did last weekend.
I know that one of it was like 5 from Asheville, I heard.
I know.
Significant awards, yeah.
Significant. And we're really excited about that. So we started creating, it's a mix of things, mostly things that we curate and select, like high quality goods, and then package them together and create experiences and then ship them. But the charcuterie is something that we make in-house, and it's been really fun. We're doing what we do, which is taking incredible ingredients and quality products from our farmers and producers, and then turning them into, in this case, authentic Spanish charcuteria, which is, we make 3 different types: sobrasada, salchichon, and chorizo, and they're amazing. I mean, they are some of the best I have ever had anywhere, and we're just really excited about it. Doing what we do, which is create quality things. We have a high threshold for that.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're talking about, you can get this salchicha and chorizo, and the first thing you said, mailed to your door.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, you order online at curateathome.com, and we're working in a couple weeks. A new experience will drop online. Cool. To put together a full charcuterie board, and so we're having a lot of fun bringing the thoughtfulness and we were talking about hospitality and experiences to people outside of Asheville, or they can pop in the bodega and buy it too if you're here.
Cool. We've talked enough about the journey of failure. If I can ask one more question about that, if you were to look at all of your experiences collectively, is there one that has informed, from the food and hospitality world and the restaurant world, informed the most about the e-commerce world you're in now?
I think that it is the customer care and quality are like the 2 things. Like, I just feel like people want great, like if you're going to eat something, you're like ingesting it to enjoy yourself, it has to be amazing. Otherwise, why? Right? Like, otherwise,
life's too short. Come on.
Right, definitely. And so I do think that, like, above all else, it's about, not taking shortcuts in exchange for quality, of the product. Like, I think that is the thing. I mean, it's what we do at our restaurants. It's like that, keeping that threshold really high, and then layering on customer care as well. Like, I think that's really important. We're always thinking, and this is something new for us, how do we create customer care and experience in a digital online world? And I think we're just starting to figure that out. What are things that we can offer people, that we can share with them, whether it's recipes or videos or content and cooking techniques and learnings or wine tastings or whatever the things are. And we're kind of just scratching the surface in that area.
And going from the synchronous, in your face, in person, almost improvisational touch points when someone's right in front of you, to a place where it's asynchronous, so you can plan and you can be really ahead of things and be, I don't want to say they're not thoughtful, but it's a new ball game, right? Like, it's a whole new set of rules. And yeah, I think I don't think most tech startup founders think about the customer journey as if they were sitting in front of you at a restaurant, and that care and the delicateness of every touch point being a moment of truth where you're going to build more trust or lose trust with that customer every time you interact with them.
And like, how do we make it personal, right?
Mhm.
Like, how do you like, because in restaurants, it is very easy to craft the experience and that moment and shape it to the individual person, because you're there, and like you were saying, it's in the moment. And I think I love the idea of taking that, our strength in that area, and really thinking about how we do that online. And I'm excited because that'll be in our future plans.
Very cool. I'm sure it'll be as James Beard Award deserving as your current James Beard Award. I want to ask you about your experience now as a founder in our program, if I can make this more about me. I've done enough talking about you, Katie. So you joined our mentorship program, our mentorship-based incubator. You're on a team. You have a peer group of founders. You get your expert mentors. You participate in our demo day. You're pitching to a live audience. I'm curious if this is what you thought it would be, and what are you getting out of it?
I didn't realize I was going to be so nervous going into that experience and joining the program. Like, it's a lot. You put yourself out there, and you're like, hey, I need help. These are all the things I need help with. But at the same time, it's incredibly rewarding and wonderful. I mean, I think more than anything, first and foremost, I think connections and it being a forcing function to work on strategy for your business, which oftentimes that strategy piece can get swallowed by the urgent things that come up. But then you're not actually prioritizing your time, right? And tackling the big things, because it's the strategy that solves the big stuff. So the urgent stuff doesn't keep cropping up, right? So it's amazing for that. And networking and connections. I have met so many incredible entrepreneurs, both in the mentor world and also who are my kind of cohort and fellow team.
The peer group is a huge selling point that we don't really market as much as the expert mentorship, but I hear from founders it's their favorite part.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's great. And even at demo day, I made some incredible connections of people who want to offer advice. Even they're not in my mentor group. They're like, we just love what you're doing, and I'm an expert in this area, so come talk to me. So I've like made these like casual connections as well, which has been really wonderful.
I'm glad to hear that. You got a lot to the program. I see the peer cohort side. I don't see the expert side. Obviously, that's confidential with you and your team. But the peer side that we facilitate, it's been a joy having you in for almost a year. Maybe a year.
Close to, I think August was my first. So I got a little bit more to go, but it's been really wonderful. I'm sticking in it.
Good. I'm glad to have you.
It's great.
So we started playing a game on this season of the podcast, which I'm sure you're an avid listener, so you're familiar with. It's called Seed, Shop, or Shutter, where I present to you 3 trends or upcoming avenues or just interesting things in your industry. And we ask you, seed, what are you investing in for the long term? Shop, what are you buying at this moment right now? Or shutter, if you're an investor, what are you shutting down? We are not going in that path. You ready to play seed, shop, or shutter? I'm going to name 3 trends or happenings in your industry. And you tell us, what are you seed investing in for the long term, shopping today, or shuttering down? Okay.
Yep.
Your 3 are fast casual dining, cell-based, not plant-based, cell-based meat alternatives. I bring that up because you have a master's in biology or chemistry from Cornell.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, biochemistry.
Biochemistry from Cornell.
I do.
All right, so we're talking about cell-based meat alternatives, or your final one, Jay Chong's dumplings.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So seed, shop, or shutter.
Clarify seed versus shop. Sorry, just one. Shutter's like very clear.
Shutter is like that one's
super clear.
Closing that one down.
Yes.
Seed is like, I'm a seed investor. I believe in you. I'm watching you for the long term.
Oh,
and then shop is what is right now very timely. I'm buying right now at this moment.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
So fast casual dining, like picture your Chipotle's or Moe's kind of, you order at the counter, you're quick to go.
I'm gonna put
cell-based
fast
meal
casual. I'm
alternatives?
gonna put fast casual dining in the seed category. I'm
Okay,
gonna
so that's gonna
put
keep growing.
yes. I'm gonna
Okay.
put Jay Chong's dumplings in the shop now category.
Yes.
If
You
you
can buy them
haven't,
tomorrow on
do
Saturday at
it.
the farmer's market. I've got some in my freezer right
Buy.
now. Yeah, buy
Yes,
those.
exactly.
Okay.
I think those dumplings could land in also the seed category. Honestly, I think we could do
Yeah.
both.
Okay.
There could be more production. So the
Yeah. She sells out
and
every weekend, so I agree with
that's
you.
right. That's what I'm saying. And the cell-based meat alternatives, I'm throwing that in Shutter.
Yeah, not buying it.
No, you know where my thoughts are is I do think we're on a move back to like, to me, real foods like
Okay.
that are created that you know
Sure.
what they are.
You heard
Like
of the
I just
slow food movement?
yes,
That's the
exactly.
idea, right? More localized.
That's right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. That was a fun. You were much quicker than our other guests. There's a lot of consternation frequently on this game, but they don't get the food ones. I guess you got a good one. For this is a tradition on the show. The last question of the interview always goes to Moonwalker. Jay, what do you got for KDB?
Yeah, well, we were talking about peers and supporting each other in this community. And we just talked about Jay Chong's delicious dumplings. What are some other places in Asheville that you frequent? Like
Good question.
some favorite restaurants?
Oh my gosh. Little Chango, for sure.
Mhm.
Love that place. If you haven't checked it out, it's amazing. Iris Rodriguez runs that. She's amazing. And Neng Jr.'s.
So good.
So I just went there for the first time the other week and it was amazing. And Silver is a wonderful human being. And let's see, what else have we got? Those were my top two. Those were my fast
Those are
ones.
good.
And then,
Those are really
I
good.
also love Leo's House of Thirst. I go there often.
good.
Great bites and wine. And Contrada, oh my gosh, it's like near my office. It's, Kachina 24 is like casual pizza kind of.
I'm proud of you for
Little
talking
bite.
about that on the show because other people have told me about the restaurant and said, but don't tell anybody about it.
I know
Let the
it is
cat out
so
of the
great.
bag.
I mean, I thought about it, but I'm like,
That's
being
brave of you.
a restaurant operator, like I understand that I want people to share. So
Yeah, you're not going to gatekeep.
don't keep it quiet.
So I'm actually curious.
Otherwise, the fate of Night Bell is upon you.
Yeah,
you
right,
know?
right.
Just say that. If you want to keep your restaurants, you talk about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
When you're in a restaurant, is it like that movie where the James Beard, I'm blanking out the name of the movie, but like the staff is freaking out that the James
Chef.
Beard or the Michelin star reviewers are in the restaurant and the whole staff is freaking out about who's there. And when you go to a restaurant, people are like, oh shit, Katie Button's at my table. The most famous chef in town is here. Like, don't like, do people like have like shaky hands pouring your water or your wine? Like, what is that like?
People are, I think the Asheville community and our food community and restaurants, like everybody is so supportive of each other. And yes, I feel that excitement. I don't know if it's just for me or just because I'm like, we're all in this community and it would be the same for any other of the chefs, but it's wonderful. And I think people, just giving those little like acknowledgements of, hey, I see you. We're in this. We understand. It's like an understanding, right? You're like, I know how difficult what you are doing is, like I think everybody in the restaurant community just like has that in common and gets how challenging it is. And so you just want to hug them.
Do you feel that way about the founders in our peer cohort?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. I think everybody's like, got lots of questions. And so therefore, we're all in the same places. And sometimes, what I've loved about the cohort is that sometimes I think a lot of us feel like the underdog. Like I feel like maybe the least experienced in the room. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way, right? But that's how I feel in that room. I'm like, I am the least experienced in the room. What am I possibly going to have to offer? And then a question will come up and I'm like, oh, actually, I don't know all this other stuff and I need help on, but that thing I can totally talk about and that, and offer something and share and contribute. And so I think it's been really nice to see that.
Katie, you are a treasure in all the communities you participate in. And I'm glad we found each other as friends in this program. And
yes, you can call me Katie
Yeah.
B if that's the question you're getting at.
That's what I was going to end with.
Exactly.
No, thank you for being in our program. It's amazing to watch what you've built in this community and what you mean broader to our region, and to see you with our founders doing the startup thing is just incredible to be part of that journey and cheer you on from the sides as much as we can. We're thrilled to see what's next and to watch your growth. And I just want to thank you for talking ship with us today.
Thank you all so much. And thank you for the commitment to development of entrepreneurship in Asheville. It's wonderful. I'm greatly appreciative.
And Jay, I appreciate you as well for
All around.
producing this podcast. And I'm sure you appreciate us. Do you want to say some nice things about us as we close the show?
Yes, of course. Are we doing like a pass the stick, the talking stick around?
This is as like the music fades in and we fade out. Just want to gush on compliments.
Yes, I love you both so much.
Mm-hmm.
This has been so amazing.
Thank you so much for that. Okay.
No, okay. Well,
All right.
actually, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.